Adam, good to see you, man. How you doing?
Hi, Eric. Yeah, good. Thank you. Not bad at all.
I think you might be taking the prize for the best hipster beard on Crux Cast so far. Is that through choice?
I keep saying to people, I unfortunately don't have a garden at the moment, so I had to have something to grow. So this has been my pet project for a quarter.
Fantastic. Your facial allotment.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm not too far behind. So the reason we've asked you on is we met online a couple of months back, and I was particularly inspired by a story that you told about some point in your life built around what happened with you and all of your other sort of peers in Leeds, and I thought it'd be great, obviously there's a kind of Aberdeen bent to this, but this could work in any city. So I wonder if we could explore that story and maybe just unpack you a little bit and go back to the start of you, because you've been in that sort of consumer marketing, that whole kind of sales space for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, that's right. I guess sort of life in marketing and media really started back in 2012. So worked for Microsoft and their global media team down in London, and so that was a baptism of fire, if you like, into the world of media and marketing and agencies and clients and how that whole world works.
Yeah. And then so the story about the transformation of Leeds and the sort of growth and all of that. Were you studying there at the time, or were you working there? How did it work?
Yeah, so I came to Leeds via a few places. So I guess sort of career kicked off in the Big Smoke. So went to my first agency side role there, actually working on Microsoft as a client at the time. And then went overseas for a little bit. So I ended up working for a small agency in Melbourne.
Right.
I helped them set up their sort of digital marketing function as part of a more traditional agency. And then ultimately came back to the UK and was working at an agency in Leeds doing a similar thing. So they had a few folk doing various aspects of search engine marketing, social media marketing, and my job there was really to grow that team and make sure that all the different parties were working together, but also working with the wider marketing mix. So they had media planning and buying in-house and PR in-house as well. So making sure that our team joined up with all of that.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting one. I think it was very much the conversation we had about then coming back in a way to Aberdeen. So having grown up in the Shire and now being in the city for the first time and starting a business in the city. And I guess contrasting the media and marketing scenes of those different places and industries. So I always think London's an unfair benchmark. It's always going to have a stage. Melbourne was quite interesting, a bit more consolidated, but still quite a big city. And then Leeds was really interesting. And I think Leeds, in terms of what we might call evolved digital marketing, especially, is an interesting case study. So I'd say they're still, 5 to 10 years behind London or any big city like that. But they're a good 5 to 10 years ahead, I think, of probably where we find ourselves in Aberdeen in terms of how developed the industry is, in terms of an understanding of how that ecosystem, as you might call it, works between clients, which are businesses or brands, agencies which support those via delivering various marketing services, and then things like media owners. So we've obviously got the journals up here, now part of DC, Original Radio, North Sound, etc. And so how that entire mix works, I think for the last sort of 18 months that we've been in business, has all felt quite disjointed. So you're
Right.
coming back and you're ready to sort of have conversations about how you do an annual media plan and how that maps together and how you're then going to leverage search as part of that. And it's just not where the conversation's been. And I feel like loads of places are like that. I feel like Leeds was always, considered very much behind the likes of Manchester or Birmingham. And then you've got other places that are popping up as marketing, digital marketing, especially hotspots. So we were working with some partners in Newcastle, but outside of Newcastle, Middlesbrough's got like a really big scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just all these companies popping up and trying to identify. What's been really interesting is trying to identify what's going on in each of those places to allow it to happen, and coming up with some different numbers and statistics and things. And one of my favorites is always, search engine marketing is a small aspect of what we do. We provide that as a single service to some clients or as part of a full service offering. But you've got two agencies in Leeds, Epiphany and Branded 3, which is now Edit. And they employ about 150 people each.
Wow.
And they only do search engine marketing, pay-per-click and SEO. And I think if anyone tried to imagine a 150 person headcount agency existing in Aberdeen, it's just not a
No, it's not a thing.
model.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. I guess
Carry on. Things like it was interesting. I think we've spoken before about things like what events, what seminars, what conferences and things are going on. And again, it's an unfair contrast to think of London and you've got Marketing Week and things at the Excel and all of that. But Leeds hosted Search Leeds once a year at the First Direct Arena with, I think, about 3,000 delegates who all rocked up for a day just to listen to talks on, again, search engine marketing. And then places like Brighton, even, you've got Brighton SEO, which happens twice a year, 10,000 delegates on the pavilion, all just chatting about SEO as an aspect of search engine marketing, which I just think is mind-blowing.
Yeah, absolutely mind-blowing. But even taking that further, I was talking to a group of people the other day on a webinar, and one of the guys said, well, why would anyone come to Aberdeen? Why would anyone come to Aberdeen? And everybody just sat and went, yeah. No one could find a reason as to why. Like your story about where all the agencies and all the brain power and creativity in Leeds came together to basically attract a major player, right? I think that was one of the TV companies, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I guess in the sort of 6 months before I moved back even further north, there was a bid going on for where Channel 4 would put their northern headquarters. So obviously got a base in London, and then they wanted a base somewhere else focused on like regional programming and things like that. And ultimately Leeds won. And I think because Manchester and Birmingham were also involved in that bid, and it just kind of shocked quite a lot of people that they pick Leeds as a city to base themselves in. And I think that really happened as a result of the industry functioning as an industry. So sort of 40 odd agencies, agency business models came together under the banner All in Leeds and sort of said, we are collaborators, we're competitors, but together we are the scene in Leeds, and this is the work we do, and here's who we do the work for, and here's what our output is like. And the council backed that, so there were good ties back into local government, and I think it was a good example of how industry and government and businesses all really work together to achieve something that no one no one I think would have thought possible.
No, not at all.
And
I mean, Manchester must have thought they were a shoe in for that, right?
absolutely, absolutely. I think Manchester continues to be the logical sort of go-to for a lot of marketing things. I think bringing it closer to home, at the same time they had or commissioned two specifically focused on creative and production, but satellite hubs, and so Bristol got one and Glasgow got one, and I
Right.
think that's a testament to. I know we've spoken a wee bit about how Glasgow as a city has evolved,
Yeah.
and I think looking at the three, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Edinburgh, if you like, Glasgow has taken the creative industries to heart and
Yeah.
in all its forms. So not just the artistry side, which is important, and Glasgow School of Art is arguably one of the reasons for that, but all the related disciplines. So as that transcends into marketing. And I think one thing that it's interesting you say about, why would people come to Aberdeen? And it's a conversation we've had with ourselves and continue to.
Yeah.
But Aberdeen as a whole, and it's a very much a northeast thing. We know we're not good at promoting ourselves and talking about the good aspects, and there's some great work being done by the likes of Aberdeenshire and Opportunity Northeast and all those groups to create a more positive narrative, but translating that back into action, I think is a tough thing. And so for
Totally.
us, actually heaps of reasons to be in Aberdeen. So RGU had the first postgrad digital marketing course in Scotland, if not the UK. And they launched the undergrad last year. So we're on the steering committee for that degree. And that's been a really interesting conversation. But, we're actually producing that talent. And even the likes of NESCOL and some of the work through developing the young workforce, skills development Scotland, etc. A lot of our stuff, there's a degree end where we're going to get really good strategists. And then there's the, I guess, modern work placement route where we can bring people in and train them to use Google and use Sprite Social for social media management, and they can get online qualifications. But encouraging the talent that there is to stay in Aberdeen then becomes the challenge, because if you've got a postgrad in digital marketing, you can go to London or you can go to Glasgow or you can go to anywhere.
and from your experience of working with that group, do you see that happen? Is that a reality? The degree gets in hand and they head to the train station or the airport and they're gone?
I'd say that is definitely happening. I wouldn't say it's absolute, but
Right.
that is definitely happening. There'd be some clear examples of folks that we met doing guest lectures who are now in other cities, and I think that's a shame. But I think we've always got to be introspective as well. Like a lot of that's on us, and
Yes.
the industry hasn't stood up and said, "But there are jobs here. Stay here. Work for us. This is the culture that we have. This is what we try and create." There's probably there's one or two companies and agencies that I think are really good at doing that and doing all the things that they should be doing. But again, because there isn't an industry, there's not a big event you can go to, there's not a big conference that says, "Oh, this is what marketing's like in the Northeast." And I think there's probably a couple of other bits on that in terms of talent retention, as in within the city. And we always talk about environments and clients. So actually, is the agencies are kind of known, and it is a bit of a London thing, but it extrapolates for having cool offices.
Yeah.
So having your classic table tennis table, pool table, all the rest of it, and that's not necessarily what it's about, but it is kind of what it's about. It's meant to be a fun industry, and it's meant to be a workplace that you go, and sometimes it's really hard, especially agency side with deadlines, etc. But there is meant to be a good element of fun to it. And the other bit is clients. And I think we did an exercise where we were contrasting, again, because even Leeds, and I think people would think from the outside, you're going to have the same size and type and volume of business possibly in Leeds than you would in the northeast. And obviously we've had oil and gas and legacy industries, but actually there's far more. And what I think we've come to the realization that there's more of is there's more in the middle.
Yeah.
So Aberdeen got a lot of really small clients, and that can be really fun to work with. It's more challenging from a commercial perspective, but from a talent perspective, there's a lot of fun in helping a lot of new and emerging businesses that we have in the northeast. And then there's a big gap to your oil giants who all use marketing companies down south anyway.
Yeah.
And what I think you've got more of in places like Leeds and those other cities that we've mentioned, but you've got more in the middle, the sort of 5 to 15 million turnover businesses who, when they're spending, 10% of their turnover on marketing as a reinvestment, you've suddenly got much bigger numbers. So there's more scope for more agencies with various levels of retainer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that's one example of where that more comes from. But then you have to balance it. So you don't just want a few really big clients. Again, that's not good for commercials, but also trying to inspire a team to work on 3, what might be fairly plain accounts thing. And you need to have a really good mix. And I think that's where the fun comes in, is trying to balance all of that.
Yeah, totally. So from your experience, being originally from here and coming back here and going and seeing some of the world and sucking up some of that kind of energy that's out there, and seeing what can be done when talent comes together, like the transformer coming together. Do you think it's possible that if we really put our minds to it in the northeast of Scotland, that we could be a credible place that was looked at by, let's say it like a television company or something like that? Because right now it seems pretty far away. But do you think it could be possible at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's almost an unquantifiable challenge, as in it's really hard to write down what the challenge is and what steps would need to be taken to overcome it. But I remain optimistic is how I'd phrase it. And I think that's for a few reasons. And I think the last few months have been a big setback for everyone. It continues to be interesting to see how different businesses across all sectors are impacted. And, I've got clients in retail and hospitality and energy and professional services and all the rest of it. And all of them have totally unique challenges. And that's been a big thing for us as well. I think there was a lot of momentum that was being built across the board last year. And even thinking about things like Aberdeen Inspired, some of the work that they do with like the markets down on the green and inspired nights and things like that. There were photos from that last year that you sort of looked at and you just went, that's not Aberdeen. Like where on earth is that?
Yeah.
Maybe Edinburgh, but probably not even then. And it was just so impressive to see our amazing granite buildings in the sunshine with an absolutely packed, obviously can't return to that immediately, but area of local commerce, and the amount of support that came out of it and the amount of collaboration between all sorts of different businesses was great to see. And then I guess think about where those opportunities lie and how we can seize those. I do think there's a big thing, potentially even, it's funny, we're talking about TV, but in terms of video production, content production, there's a couple of great companies in Aberdeen who do that. So Urbane spoke at one of our we were doing a series of meetups last year to try and I think that started in February. I'd been back for a couple of months and was like, were there any marketers in Aberdeen?
Did you wander into a pub expecting it to be all people talking about marketing and digital marketing and all that, and just stand there and look around? guys, where are you?
Oh yeah. And it was an interesting experience. They put out, and it was almost a note to the effect of, we're going to be in this pub at this time, and if you've got any interest in chatting about marketing, then come along. And I think we ran possibly 6 events over the course of the year, and had maybe on average about 30 people each time. And that in itself was encouraging, because it was people from some of the bigger agencies that came along, and I was quite surprised by that. And then a whole mix of people who were freelance creatives, small production shops, small specialists in various aspects of marketing. And I think that's what all those other places we've spoken about had going on. It was a sense that you could go, as you say, to a pub almost any night of the week, and there'd be some meetup about something techie or something digital or something. And I think that was starting to happen, and it is possible. So I'll mention the tech hub that opened on School Hill last year, and a lot of the things that Opportunity Northeast Digital and Entrepreneurship are doing is, I think, positive. It's just always, for me, translating that back into businesses.
Yeah,
we've really enjoyed our partnership with RGU, and not just within digital marketing, but say computer science, which has impact on our measurement tools and how we measure marketing and all the rest of it, and have made some really good connections there, because the university have been open to it and we've been open to it. And I don't think any of what we have done is remarkable in its own right, because it almost seems really obvious. Like, if you've got a university where you've got that talent and it's literally producing it, why isn't everyone going, can we be there? Can we tap into that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think education continues to be a massive part of it. Collaboration absolutely has to be a part of it. And we've got opportunities across all of those areas. It's just keeping up momentum, which I think is really difficult. And I think that's where the last 3 months have hampered things a bit.
Yeah.
But then just making sure that we're just still having conversations. I think that's the single main bit. Every conversation is an opportunity to do something different, to do something better.
Yeah, totally. I was gonna ask you at the end there, what do we need to do? But I think you've summed it up quite well. Keep talking through this, keep connected through this, keep notes of those ideas, because there's going to come a time where we're going to be able to share them and really sort of do something about it, because we're a bit hamstrung at the moment, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's been an interesting period. I think some people have, or some businesses have almost closed off entirely, and that gives you one view. But then it's on the flip side of that, it's been really apparent those that have gone, well, we've got some time and we don't have to travel to every meeting, and actually that's better for the environment anyway. So why don't we have these calls and these conversations that we probably wouldn't have had otherwise, because we couldn't be, when you have to plan in an additional hours of travel, some things just don't happen. Whereas actually we've been able to have really instantaneous conversations, and every one sparks a different idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps us optimistic.
Absolutely. We'll end this on that optimistic word, optimistic. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, best place is to have a look at our website, so momentagencies.com, and then our various social media channels from there. Always happy for folk to email me as well, just Adam at.
Very good. Very good. Well, it's a pleasure to see you. I'm glad we had a chance to do this one, because I think it's important for the region. I think it's important for Scotland as a whole to feed from some of this. And I'll be at your first meeting in that pub, I promise.
Brilliant.
All right, man. See you soon. Thanks for joining us.
Brilliant. Eric, cheers.
Thanks a lot.